I'd love to hear a little bit about kind of what you're doing, but first, about your background, kind of how you got into it.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my name is Anders, and I'm the CEO of Midio. I have a background in programming. Started out in Microsoft, and then was in just a ton of different kind of industry in telecom, finance. Just tried a bunch of things before I ended up in the startup world around 2012. And that's also where I met my co-founder, Christian, which is the CTO. And we've been working together in multiple companies since that time, so about 10 years now. And we met Jacob, our third co-founder, about a year ago through our previous lead investor in our pre-seed round. And he has background in finance and comes from another company called Sanity, which is a CMS solution. It's doing quite well these days. And he was kind of, started quite early in Sanity and was building out the commercial part of that company. So we're really happy to have him on board as well. And me and Christian has, basically very similar backgrounds. So,
what companies were you involved with like after Microsoft?
Yeah, so the startup that we both joined at that time was called Fuse. So that was a cross-platform solution that was kind of competing with React Native and Flutter at that time. We were a bit earlier than them, and I guess it was the community part that we didn't solve at that point. So React Native were kind of coming there and killed the company, but it was a very interesting approach to kind of see. We were quite big at that point. We were sitting at Figma offices and working together with them. So like looking back and see how they did different things and we did different things. So we're quite hungry to make something successful.
Yeah. So kind of what was the point at which you decided you wanted to jump into Midio and pursue something there? Was there a moment when you were like, oh, this needs to happen?
Yeah, so we around 2018, we started on a small agency, around 10 people. Me and Christian started that company, and we were doing that for some years, and then we ended up starting to look into the low-code market because we needed a place where we were working together with a lot of engineers at that time. They wanted to kind of be part of the software development process, being able to kind of change things like compensate the sensor and stuff like that. So we were looking into ideas for one of the customers. We made a custom programming language for that specific use case, and then we saw like the same kind of thing we're starting to come up again and again. So we started to look into low-code tools and tried to deliver a bunch of projects on that. But it kind of always ended up being kind of the prototyping phase, and then you move out to something else. And that's where we start to see that, okay, now we need to do something about this because this slows us down. So that's kind of brings us maybe into what Midio is. And that's we look at it more as a power tool than a low-code solution, because we try to combine the best from a regular programming language and then make it usable for non-technical people as well, but without losing the flexibility that you have as a developer. And that's kind of the gap in the market that we saw, that there's a bunch of these tools in the low-code category, and a lot of them are awesome. But since they are kind of built from the business perspective and down, it usually doesn't fit very well with developers that need the flexibility to solve kind of systems where you need to do special integrations with legacy software, and you just need to have the freedom that you have as a developer.
So you're kind of going from a bottom-up approach rather than a top-down. Okay.
Yeah. So we built a very technical foundation. It's actually a real programming language, but it's visual. So you could basically do whatever you want in another regular traditional programming language, but it's also a lot of abstractions in there. So, for example, like there's a ton of things that we as developers do again and again for all kind of projects we do. An example is when you're doing integration work, and you have something called durable execution, which is something we like built into the tool where you need to have state that spawns for days and maybe months, and it's very complicated to kind of do this kind of make these kind of systems. And you don't want to do that again and again. That's kind of just one example of things that makes you more powerful in Midio. And at the same time, we chose to make this a visual language, so it looks and feels like a low-code solution. And that gives us also a lot of power in terms of making really new and exciting debugging tools and the possibility to inspect and work with data that you don't have in kind of the traditional way of working. So that makes you more efficient and faster, and have the flexibility that you need as an agency.
Okay, so kind of for me, I'm not so familiar with coding. Like I've not done so much of it myself, but I'm very much aware of how much it's a space that's changing rapidly with kind of ChatGPT, Canvas, and Cursor as well. So I'm just interested to hear your thoughts about how Midio fits in within that context of these fast-moving kind of developments with those aforementioned companies.
Absolutely. So when we started working on Midio, that was actually before the LLM kind of wave started. And we always kind of imagined when we started the project, like how is the world going to look like in 10 years? And AI was kind of some of the things that we thought that, okay, that's coming for sure, and it's going to be better. And we thought like, what's going to be the last thing that's going to be difficult to optimize and automate? And that's basically you still need an interface to kind of understand, talk to the computer back and forth. So we designed Midio in a ways that should be possible. So today you have all these tools that give you Python scripts, and you could write with text. We always imagine a visual way of talking with something like LLMs. And when we got these language models, that just fitted perfectly with Midio. So right now you have the problem of like in EU, for example, we have a lot of legislations and stuff like that you need to kind of understand the code and the business logic that the AI is producing. And we think that having kind of this visual overview, that is something that non-technical people as well can understand, is the solution to that. So that's one thing. And another thing is that Midio is very great to actually develop these AI agents and work with AI in itself. So last year it was like this RAG tools that was all the hype. Now it's AI agents. And the fun thing for us was that we could just start making these things based on the core technology that we have. So you get something similar to kind of Llama Index and Langflow and these kind of tools, where you have a visual node-based graph where you can make these agents. And we didn't have to do anything to kind of get that into our tool, because that's basically how it's designed. So that's just a quick answer.
Yeah, that's super helpful and to set the context. So, I mean, what does the space look like in terms of your competitors then? So it's not necessarily kind of those companies that I mentioned before. Who's operating here that you think could be a risk to your model?
So it's somewhat difficult, since we kind of feel that we are in an area where we're a mix between different things. So we see of course tools like I just mentioned, like Llama Index and Langflow in the agent space, and then you also have tools like Retool, where you could easily make and these kind of tools that can do the same thing. So what's kind of different with us is that you could do more than most of these tools. So when you kind of have made something and it start to kind of hit these bottlenecks, then in Midio you're in a position where you always could kind of work around problems and keep working, so it's not just a prototype. So
okay. And then just to jump onto the other side of things, is there a specific ICP that you have, like a specific kind of company profile that you're going to target initially? And I don't actually know where you are in your journey, if you're already generating revenue, if you already have pilots.
Yeah, so we're in private beta. No revenue. We don't optimize for that yet. We initially wanted to go the PLG route, and we still are. But right now, so we have a Discord communities of people that sign up. They come in there and can try out the product. But we found that we got really good response from agencies. So that's kind of what we're doubled down on right now. So we are not focusing on like marketing broadly and stuff like that right now. We just seek out agencies and
what kind of agencies?
So it's people. I mean agencies that's typically using some low codes today, and they still have to do programming for some kind of projects. And that's kind of where we have found a really good spot, because they want to have the same experience, but they don't want to kind of switch out and maintain like this a Node.js or Python-based project for some of the customers. So we have multiple agencies here in Norway. We also have started a pilot with a company called Notted in UK, and are in dialogues with more, and in Netherlands and in US. So we have kind of a lot of dialogues and proof of concepts with these agencies going already. So that's kind of what we call it, the agency pilot program, that we have ambitions to have a lot of proof of concept with all of these agencies after Christmas.
Okay, and have you raised any money so far?
Yes, we raised money about a year ago. I need to convert. I think it was 660,000 euros. Yeah.
Okay. And are you actively fundraising at the moment?
Not actively right now, but we are planning to kind of start around soon. So we aiming for like probably January, where we're going to do the rounds.
And do you have any specific goals that you're working towards to hit before that kind of fundraising timeline, or afterwards? Like, it'd be interesting to know what you're working towards, what your goals are, your milestones.
Yeah. So again, it's this agency pilot program that I talked about, which is our like current target, and we might start hitting on the PLG button as well, but I don't think so. I think we're going to be happy with being able to kind of show traction among these agencies and let them be possible to interview them and see how they are talking about Midio. So that's going to be our ambitions, to kind of aim to have like 20, 30, something like that, agencies that it's possible to speak with for investors.
Okay, that's super interesting. I think we might be out of time, but it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm very jealous of the where you're calling from. I'm in a hot, stuffy box, so that's why I've been popping the window open. But yeah, otherwise, sorry.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time, and no,
absolute pleasure. And I hope I'll see you soon. Are you attending the Focal Day?
We are not able to do that. We unfortunately, yeah.
Okay. All right.